Hi everyone and welcome. And we're really happy to have Gabriela today. Gabriela is a fertility specialist. She took the program back in 2018. She was one of the top of our students back in that year. Her motivation, her work, and dedication and the program was really amazing, and we were really impressed by her work. She was part of the Group 6, the RAID team, and she also keeps working and collaborating with all of them, and we're really happy to have her today. She's a best-selling author, sorry, and then she has already been published 4 books about fertility and how to help women all around the world. Currently, her program has reached already more than 100 countries and have helped more than 100,000 families around the world. So we're really proud of all her work, and we know that you will enjoy this lecture. As Professor Felipe Fregni said, we hope that this encourages you to keep improving and to keep studying clinical research, even though you choose the pathway to do this, or if you choose to be and work more on your own projects in your clinical field. So welcome, Gabriela, and we hope that you enjoyed the lecture.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, what an introduction. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Felipe. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone who's paying attention right now. So I appreciate it. And also I hope that I'll bring some really great value for you in terms of your next steps on this journey. I know that for me personally, I found out about PPCR through an alumni friend of mine, very good friend of mine. And at the time I was asking her, hey, I want to actually do a PhD. I want to really kind of get clarity on a question, on a PhD question. Can you help me? And she sent me a paper to read. And as we know, the very beginning of PPCR, the very first thing that we study is the importance of asking a good question to answer through clinical research. And she sent me a paper to read, and it was really great. And one of the links that she sent me was the link to the PPCR course. And I thought, okay, this looks interesting. I opened it up and I thought that it was, I saw that it was a Harvard course, and I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. It's a 9-month course. It's online. First of all, actually, when I first clicked on the link, I didn't realize that it was fully online and it was available, for people literally all over the world. And I was really excited when I actually found out that, whoa, hang on a second, I can do this from Sydney, Australia. Because, I don't know, for many of you who has been to Sydney, Australia, anyone? Like, it's the other side of the world. Okay. Yeah. And as a result of it being on the other side of the world, it is, it's one of those places, it takes 24 hours to get anywhere. So when I realized that I needed to do nothing more than actually just log into the lectures and, go through all of those bits and pieces, and that there was 2 workshops that I could attend that would enhance my experience, I thought, yes. And I thought yes so quickly that I think the applications were literally about to close. I did my resume for the first time in like 20 years. Literally got my application ready in 4 hours. And I remember it was really funny. I was away for the weekend with my husband when my friend sent this link. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, my eyes open. Bing! And I'm like, okay, this is something that I'm going to do. And so here we are in a hotel room. So I sneak out of the bed and go into the bathroom and literally lock myself in there for the next 4 hours, from 4 to 8. And I finish my application, send it through. My husband's going from the other room, hey, are you all right in there? Thinking I may have disappeared. And it has been one of the absolute very best things I've ever done in terms of my career, to be honest. It has been a pivotal experience in many, many ways, because at the time I was really thinking about a PhD. As I said, I was thinking about, okay, well, what's going to be my next academic step? I really wanted to do more. I wanted to enhance my skills, but also I wanted to almost pivot a little bit into another experience. I had built a very successful business, a very useful business, has been able to help many people, thousands of people as a clinician, over the years. And I felt that there was a little bit missing. You know, I felt that there was more that I wanted to achieve. And I also wasn't particularly thrilled, to be honest, and still am not particularly thrilled with the quality of standard reproductive medicine care that patients receive. And I'll be honest about that. That's one of the reasons as to why I decided to do my MPH, because I think through research and advancing knowledge, we can gain so much, and we can, you know, really change protocol and the way in which patients experience better care, but also effectiveness in treatment. And I think that's such a huge and important factor that often, you know, just because we do something the way that we've always done it doesn't mean that it's the best way to do it. And I think that clearly, you know, all of us studying clinical research, we understand that there are better ways, and perhaps, you know, even just to test out whether the better ways really are better, or whether there are even other things that we discover along the path and along the way. And so it was a real eye-opening experience for me to really get clarity on the ins and outs of research and how to do it. When I was doing PPCR, I think it was about halfway through, I decided, hey, you know what? I actually want to put these skills to the test, you know, and so I decided to run my very first little clinical trial with the patients that we had, and the information that I had gained from PPCR. Like I didn't have any other mentors other than, you know, the people that I was doing my course with, and of course Felipe and Alma and the TAs. And I thought, hey, what better way to test out these skills? What better way to really be able to understand what it is that I'm learning by doing it? So I did one of the worst possible things you could possibly ever imagine, which is run a weight loss clinical trial. Let me just say this, don't try that at home, okay? Missing data is a real problem. Because people start really excited, right, about, you know, losing weight. And then up, you know, week 2, week 3, they start to want to eat cake more than they want to lose weight. And that is problematic, because then they don't start filling out the forms. And as you start to go into, and I ran this trial for 6 months, people, 6 months. It was painful. It was very, very painful. Each week as I'm trying it, I actually hired a clinical assistant to be able to chase up these people, calling them up and like, you know, hey, have you filled out that form? Let's fill out your form now. You know, so although it was a really interesting and not in all the good ways, it was a great learning experience to do that, and just to kind of go, okay, hey, you know what? Let me just see how far I can get with the information that I gained from the course. And I can say that honestly, I gained a lot. I didn't realize how much I had actually learned in PPCR until I was able to design my own clinical trial, create it, run it, and, you know, just myself and an assistant calling people and just going through. And the intervention that I developed was an online intervention. And what was interesting about that is that we are actually right now, I clearly don't learn very fast, because at this very moment, we are running that course, that intervention again for our patients in the clinic, because it was really effective. The intervention itself actually worked really well. If it wasn't for the missing data, I probably would have been able to actually have a really good, nice study out of it. Although we know from PPCR that we should publish no matter what. It's still not published, but maybe I can publish the protocol in the PPCR journal, Felipe, who knows? But, you know, so really it was really fantastic. The whole PPCR experience for me was great. As Alma said, I was honestly so thrilled and honored and humbled to receive an award at the end of PPCR. And you guys just make sure you work really, really hard, because it's really such a wonderful experience to get to the other side and go, wow, look at what I've learned, look at what I've achieved. So I knew already kind of midway through the year that I wanted to do more. I knew that I wanted to do, you know, some more study at Harvard. I knew that I wanted to really focus my area of expertise in developing that whole side of clinical research. So I started to look into that. And obviously Felipe has been instrumental in so many ways to help me find pathways and find solutions to the challenges that I've had over the time in which I you know, obviously was working towards the application and when I was applying. And hopefully that will help you not have to experience some of the issues and the challenges that I have by preparing a little bit in advance. So that's what I would like to just share with you next. Now, in terms of the application process itself, so there's a couple of different courses that you can do at Harvard remotely or partly remotely after you finish PPCR. And I'm sure that if you go to the admissions website, you'll be able to get more information. These things are always changing, but there is the MPH in epidemiology that you can do that's solely online. And there is the MPH in clinical effectiveness, which essentially the distinction there is that clinical effectiveness is summer only. And so you actually have to be physically present at Harvard for about 6 and a bit weeks for 3 summers, 3 consecutive summers. Okay, so the thing about that, this year, by the way, with the whole pandemic and COVID, it's all gone online for this summer only. So next summer, we're back, on campus. But for this year, because of the pandemic, everything is turned online, and that's essentially how it's going to happen. But those are the 2 different ways in which you could, from here, get onto the next kind of pathway through Harvard, if that's what you chose to do. Now, there is a distinction between those 2 courses in the sense that the credits that you actually accumulate are non-transferable. Okay, so what does it mean? Well, basically, if you decided that you want to apply for the MPH straight away, you can do that. And of course, if you get in, great. If you don't, it is what it is. I have also found that if you don't get in, there is another way, and this is part of what happened for me last year. I had originally applied for the MPH in Epi, and the thing that actually let me down is this little test called the GRE. I don't know, has anybody ever heard of the GRE? Good, get really familiar with the GRE. Yeah, it's a not very nice little test that you have to do. And because I hadn't done high school math for like 20 years, I actually had to study for the GRE, like big time, right? I had to do like literally maths tuition, like tutoring for 6 months before I did this course. Now, everyone's different. Felipe told me when I said to him, what about this GRE thing? He goes, just read the book, you'll be able to do it in a week. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that, Felipe. For me, right? Felipe clearly is a genius. He could do it in a week, I couldn't. So I had to actually go back to studying math, high school math, for a period of time, 6 months actually, and and I did the test. Now, the problem was actually I was doing, and the test is about 4 hours. It covers, so out of the 4 hours, 2 hours is math portion, 2 hours is an English portion, and 1 hour is the essay writing portion, right? Essay writing, English, easy. Math, not so easy for me. So I had to really kind of get deep into algebra and, quadratic equations and how you do fractions, like, do you remember all the rules about fractions, additions and multiplications and divisions? I didn't. It was ridiculous. And so I could hardly remember my times table, if I'm really, really honest, and so I had to kind of go back and do all of that. Mind you, the test itself isn't hard. There are many different, in fact, Magoosh is something that if you want to study for the GRE, I would highly recommend Magoosh. If you just Google it, it's Magoosh, because they break it down. They really kind of like step you through step by step the things that are going to be covered, how it's going to be covered. You do practice exams. I had done 5 or 6 4-hour practice exams on there. My, scores were really very good. Harvard wants your scores around the 60th percentile, right? And so what happens is that because it's a percentile and you really are competing in that test with people who have literally just left high school, the number of points that it takes for you to go from a 60th percentile to a 4th percentile is like 6 or 8 points out of the entire test. So let's say that it's out of 170. If you score 158, you're around the 60th percentile. If you score 149, you're already at the 4th percentile. Okay, so that's the kind of distinction that we're talking about. It's quite competitive. And you do need to do well for that test, because what happens is that they expect it as a foundational requirement, because when you get into the MPH, there will be quite a lot of biostatistics that you will need to do. And in fact, if you don't go straight into the MPH, if you go and do PCE first, which is the program in clinical effectiveness, they really expect, that whole program for that summer, which is the beginning of the MPH in clinical effectiveness, which that's where the credits aren't transferable. So if you basically get into PCE as a non-degree student and then you apply to your MPH, those 15 credits, the PCE program is 15 credits out of 45, which is a third of your MPH in clinical effectiveness. You cannot transfer those credits into MPH EPI. So if you absolutely decidedly wanted to do MPH EPI, you would need to do all of your 45 credits again from scratch. Does that make sense? Yeah, so they are two distinct programs. So because I had already done 45 credits, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go back and do another, 15 credits. I'm not going to go back and do another 45 credits if I've already done a third. Plus, what ended up happening for me, I actually found that it was an absolute blessing in disguise that I didn't get in the first time, because when I looked at the curriculum between clinical effectiveness and the MPH EPI, I actually identified so much more for myself with the program in clinical, the MPH in clinical effectiveness. And there was much more, the distinction for me was that there is a lot more that you can actually select. The curriculum for the MPH EPI is very set. Every student does all of these subjects and that's how it is. Whereas there's a lot more choice available in the MPH clinical effectiveness. And for me, that was perfect. And I decided to go ahead and do that. But, when I decided to apply again, I decided to apply for the program in MPH in clinical effectiveness. Now, what's also very valuable when you do that the second time around is that you already have a track record with the program directors. So you are able to also, have the networking aspect with not only the program directors, but the students that do PCE. And then of course your letters of recommendation get enhanced, are much better. They also see what it is that you have scored. So for me, even though so in the end, with my whole GRE experience, I ended up getting 149 on the day of my test, because I had gone to PPCR in Bahia at the time, thanks Felipe, which was a 30-hour trip. The very next day was when I was actually going to take my GRE exam. So you can imagine what fun that was in a complete jet-lagged state, going and doing my GRE exam. It was not so much fun, I will tell you that right now. I did it, but as a result, it wasn't the best score. Even though my application was really strong, because when I finished that whole process and then I realized that, okay, I'm not going to get into the MPH EPI, I'm writing Felipe going, Felipe, what do? I don't want to waste a year. And he goes, well, you could apply for PCE and do some of those credits and then go from there. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do. So I did that. And when I did it, it turned out that, all the scariness that I had been feeling about, being able to get it done, the very first thing that I go, when I get to Harvard, in the beginning of PCE, was to go and see Anne Occupanti, who basically, she's the head of admissions. And I said, Anne, I need to talk to you because I need to get into the MPH next year. So let's have a little discussion here about how that's going to happen and what it is that I need to do. And so she basically reviewed my application. She was so kind. She was lovely. She reviewed my application and said, Gabriela, look, just so you know, your application is actually really strong. And what let you down was your GRE score, because the faculty were concerned that you wouldn't be able to actually get through, and that's the biggest concern they have, by the way, that you won't be able to get through your biostatistics modules, right? So what did I do with that information? Well, I knew that from the outset, so I put in every piece of effort to making sure that my marks were like, the best marks that I could possibly have, and they were 98% plus. So that at the end of PCE meant that when I asked her, I said, so can I just tell me, do I need to resit my GRE? Because if she had said to me, yes, you have to resit your GRE, I would have taken a very deep breath and begun study from the 1st of August when, PCE was actually over, so that I could retake the exam. But she then said to me, look, actually, because of your scores, you're fine. You don't need to retake the GRE, just reapply and, we'll go from there. I'm like, okay, great. Because I had already done PCE, that gives you actually apply as an ex-PCE student. So you have yet another little layer that you've built. So you've done PPCR, you've done PCE. Now they're like, okay, this person clearly serious. She's coming from the other side of the planet, right? She wants to complete this degree. Maybe we'll let her in just as well, because otherwise I will just keep reapplying, right? That's just like how it is. So, but yeah, so they let me in finally, and that's essentially what I'm doing this year. So, and you can take the GRE multiple times. You can take it in the period, Magoosh has it on their website, but basically I think that you can take it 6 times weekly, something like that. And then you actually have to have a bit of a break if you don't get the score that you want. And that you can basically nominate that you want the highest score to be sent to your school. So if you've taken it 6 times, like I didn't want to take the exam itself multiple times, because you actually have to go to a testing center, and literally it's like the military in that place, right? You have to go through metal detectors, you have to go through this, you have to go through that, you have to go. So I thought, you know what, let's just avoid all of that kind of rigmarole. Let's just do the actual thing at home on my computer and, kind of do the practice exams and just see what happens from there. So I went and did it once. That was because I had already done 4 or 5, 6, I don't even know how many, I did many practice exams. I thought that was enough. And all my practice exam scores, and this was the thing that really was very annoying, all my practice exam scores were like 1 or 2 points from each other, and then on the day of the exam, it's like 8 points down. I'm like, ah! But anyway, it is what it is. It worked out in the end. Is there something that I can apply for without the GRE? No, not for a degree. For all the degrees, you will need the GRE or the GAMSAT or some higher exam, that's a standardized exam. So, if you do want to do a degree at Harvard, you will, as a graduate, you will need to do some kind of a standardized test. There's a question here about what clinical effectiveness what about the clinical effectiveness program? Do we need the GRE too? No. For clinical effectiveness, you don't need the GRE. But then after you do your clinical effectiveness, if you want to apply for the MPH, you then do need to do the GRE afterwards. So I would recommend a couple of things. If you think that the MPH is something that you want to do, start studying for the GRE. Full stop, right? Because you can't get away without doing that. Start studying for the GRE. The second thing is, and where can I find more information about the GRE? If you Google GRE, you will actually find, information all over. There's a specific website for that exam that you can actually find out all of the information, as well as testing centers, as well as where you need to go and in your location and all of that kind of information. So it's pretty straightforward. You can find all of that information online. Can you work while doing the MPH? Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're doing the MPH, well, the MPH EPI, I believe it's also a part-time. If there's another option as well, if you wanted to move to Boston, right, you can actually do the MPH, it's 1 year. So you could do that as well. But, and then that way it's full-time, 1 year, you're obviously not going to be working. For me, I run my own business, lead 30 team. I couldn't just kind of like go, okay, bye people. Have fun for a year. So that wasn't practical for me. And so therefore I decided that the next best thing was going to be to do what it is that I've decided to do. So aside from a good score in the GRE, can we strengthen our application by the MPH? Yeah, look, your letter of intent is a job in itself. Okay, so your letter of intent is, now you guys are just starting PPCR, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So at the end of the year, you guys will have your workshops, and you'll get to meet some of the amazing, I don't know how you guys are going to do the workshop this year because of pandemic, Alma, for the writing workshop and everything else, but I highly recommend, honestly, the workshops for PPCR. Do whatever it is that you have to do. Do not miss them. do not miss them, because I actually met Donald Halstead at the workshop, and I truly believe that if it wasn't for his guidance in writing my letter of intent, I probably would still be applying for Harvard, right? So I wrote my first letter of intent, had a brilliant scientist help me make it the best that it could be. I sent it to him. He goes, "It's horrible, rewrite." Okay. I'm like, "Okay, thank you for your feedback, Donald. That's really lovely." And I said, "Do you have any examples with which I could base my own?" And he goes, "Yes, here." Donald is very he's lovely once you get to know him. Just know he's very direct. Okay. So he will tell you your letter is just rubbish, because it is, trust me. And I'll tell you why. After I did my letter, redid my letter with his examples and his guidance, and which, he honestly, amazing, right? Without him, I truly don't believe that I would have had the letter that I had, and had the opportunity that I had, to be able to actually be doing what it is that I want to do. But he, afterwards, when I actually read my letter of intent, I'm like, who wrote this? This is amazing, right? So I'm telling you, it's worth the effort. You do need to have a very good letter of intent. And that's going to be really important. The other thing too is SOFAs, right? SOFAs is the platform in which you apply for the MPH. It requires a degree on how to do SOFAs, just giving you a little bit of a heads up. But it's worth it, right? And I'm joking, you don't need a degree to do SOFAs, but it's not exactly the most, intuitive of all things. If you guys want, let me know. I can show you the platform and what it looks like, if that would be useful. But that's definitely, I can show you the inside and how the application actually goes, if that's helpful. So, but yeah, so essentially you will, there you go. Donald's going to be teaching manuscript writing in lecture 20. Trust me, take notes, pay attention. He is amazing. And Kathy, oh my God, Kathy. I love that woman. She's just brilliant, right? So if you guys get an opportunity to have a workshop with Kathy, do not pass it by, because she is just incredible. So these are the types of things that really make a difference as well, is having those relationships. Philip is always talking about networking and, getting to know not only the people that you are studying with, but the people who are actually teaching you. And it does make a huge difference. Kathy Brenner, yes. July workshop. Honestly, people, whatever you do not miss her July workshop. She is incredible. So that's essentially what happens with the application itself. Let me see, because there was a few questions in here that I want to make sure that I don't miss for you guys. Let's see. So then after you do SOFAs, by the way, so there is one other thing that I would say to you so some really very, very important things, okay, that are going to happen that you're going to need to do for your application. One of the things that I had never heard of before actually getting into this application process is a service called WES, which stands for World Education Services. They are incredibly inefficient. Okay, so just know that in advance, because the actual application requires that they validate your previous study. So it's something that you cannot get away with. And I would highly recommend that if you intend to apply this year, that you will start that process with WES, the World Education Services, now. Because when you start your application process on SOFAs, it's already too late. It took 4 months for them to validate my degrees that literally they had in front of them. And the thing about it is that they will ask you, especially if you have a degree in a different language, they will ask for transcripts. They will ask for the actual syllabus. They will ask for every possible thing you could ever imagine. And they will go back and forth with you for months asking for stuff. Okay. So I had 4 degrees that I had to validate. Let me tell you, nightmarish. That is the number one thing, other than the GRE, which obviously you need to study for and you need to prepare. Your validation of your studies through WES is extremely important. Without it, you will not actually be able to complete your application. Okay, so, and that takes months. So make sure you start that part of the process ahead of time. The second time around that I had to apply, it was great. It was easy. It was literally just paying another however many dollars to get the report. Because that's the other thing too. If you apply the first time, all the money that you've spent for your first application, you will have to pay again. So, ideally, you get in the first time. And being prepared is going to definitely help that a whole lot. Okay, because you have to pay for your GRE, you have to pay for WES, you have to pay for the application itself, in SOFIS. I would say that in total, I would have spent, just on the applications, the fee applications, I would have spent about $2,000, okay, for the application process with all of the things included, okay? So that's just something that you do need to know as well. What else? Let me just see here in SOFIS what else you need to know. Oh yeah, the other thing, whatever you put in, so it will ask you, so there's 4 sections to the SOFIS application. So there is the personal information, which is demographic information, information about you, all the things that you need to kind of give them. Academic history, so that's where they will ask for the validation from WES, right? Then there is the supporting information. In the supporting information, it will ask for your letters of recommendation. Your letters of recommendation have to be strong, right? So your background, your letters of recommendation are almost as important as your background. So, and what you bring to the table. Basically, what they want to see in terms of you doing what it is that you are wanting to do is they want to see that, in the same way that research, it has to be defined, it's got to be novel, it's going to be something that's different, it's going to be something that's going to be really interesting for you to pursue, but that will have some value in the outside world, because that's really what Harvard wants to see. It's like, how is it that this person who's going to complete this degree going to better the world as a result of the specific implementation of what it is that they're doing right now? That's kind of really ultimately, go onto their website, go into the Harvard School of Public Health, TH Chan, and have a look at their mission statement. Have a look at what it is that they want to see and add that into your application. Really give yourself the time to think about, how are you going to contribute to the world in doing what it is that you do? That's really important, because you want to weave that into your application in the way in which you're actually communicating why you want to do this. They don't want you to just collect another degree, right? They want you to actually use that information and to be able to articulate well how you're going to use what it is that you're going to learn. Does that make sense? That articulation of that process is really important, okay? PCE costs about $25,000 because it's a third of the MPH. So I'm not sure about financial aid. I ended up paying that myself, so I'm not sure what happens and what kinds of scholarships. I'm sure there would be, opportunities for scholarships and, everything else. But there you go. So, but you see, there are ways in which you could apply for scholarship. For example, in Australia, even though Harvard might not give you a scholarship, I was notified by Harvard of a scholarship that was available for Australian students within an organisation within Australia. I didn't end up applying because it was too short a notice and whatever else, but these opportunities sometimes appear, where there might be organizations that are willing, within your own country and within your own level of reach, that you may be able to actually pitch someone the idea that you going to Harvard and completing a degree is actually going to benefit them in some way, and they may be willing to pay as a result. Right. So these are things that you want to consider as well. It's like, who would benefit from you gaining that education? Who would, gain as well as you from you actually conducting the further studies that you want to conduct? So those are things that you could definitely be able to leverage. Okay. So let's see here, questions. So, I mean, look, I can continue talking about different parts of the Sophos application, or I can just answer questions. So whatever it is that you guys want and whatever will be helpful, let me know. Maybe let me know in the chat what you would like me to cover, you know, from here. And oh, the papyrus that you love, thank you very much, Naira, is actually from one of my friends from PPCR, Egyptian Ahmed. And yes, there you go. So one of my very good friends. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this is the other thing about PPCR that I absolutely adore. My group, Team Brave, go Team Brave, big shout out. Team 6, by the way, okay, let's just say. We are the best of friends. We still have a WhatsApp group. In fact, so funny, we have a WhatsApp group where, you know, we literally, we send messages, we communicate, we connect. You know, it's beautiful. One of the other participants of PPCR who I met, Marcus, became one of my absolute very best friends. Last year when he went to do observership at Felipe's lab, and I went to do my PCE. We actually shared an apartment. We had the most wild fun ever. It was so amazing. So, you know, the friendships that you make, like I've heard of groups through PPCR of people like wanting to, you know, eat each other alive and not being very kind and not being very nice and not actually collaborating and being helpful and, you know, making that process the best that it could be for everyone else. And I think, gosh, how absolutely so sad of an opportunity miss that is. Because, you know, if you are willing and you desire to make lifelong friends and you want to be able to help each other and support each other and be flexible and, you know, have fun through the process, like, get along, people. You know, get along and let your grievances aside and just, like, you know, connect and enjoy each other. Because honestly, I was so grateful for the ability that I've had with, you know, the group that we've had. And we were even saying this literally last week, how one of the people in our group was saying how there was another friend of hers who went through a different group and wasn't very happy. And they basically said they didn't want to publish their paper because, you know, they all had different ideas of whatever else and blah, blah, blah. You know what, honestly, so silly, right? Collaborate, it's an experience that you gain together. We not only publish our paper, we now are published, you know, scientific authors because we just decided to get on with the job and, you know, really kind of work along really well together. So yeah, the friendships and the friends and the networking is amazing. And the same has applied actually for PCE. So having had that experience, taking that into PCE was really wonderful because same thing, I actually was able to transfer what I learned through PPCR, right, into PCE and make amazing friends and have great relationships and, of course, amazing network. Like some of the networking, you know, that I have been able to do, I would have never connected with those people if it wasn't for these experiences that I've had. So I'm very, very grateful. And yes, and then you get beautiful presents as well. So very well. How many times do you think that it could require before applying for an MPH and doing previous preparation? Maybe, oh God, 2 years? Like, who has 2 years to waste? No, I don't, yeah, I don't recommend, like, I'm the kind of person that I just want to get this done, like whatever it is that I want to get done by yesterday. And at the same time, it's very paradoxical because I want to get whatever done that I want to get done by yesterday, but I also remove the time frame when I decide on a goal. That is the one thing I do. So I decided that no matter what else happened in my life, I would graduate from an MPH at Harvard. It was just, that's it. It was my decision. Therefore, it was really kind of like going to be up to these people in admissions to let me in sooner or later, because I would keep reapplying until I'm 80 if I had to, okay? And so really, the reality of it is that there are two things to this. One, get in, get it done. You will learn so much by just getting in there and letting the rubber hit the road. Don't prepare for the rest of your life Like, just, if you want to apply for this, get ready, do what it is that you need to be done, to be done, be focused, right? Decide and then do what needs to be done. It's really that simple. And then if you don't get in, just go, okay, great. What's next? How else? Who else? What else? Like, those are the questions, right? Those are the questions to ask. It's like, don't delay. Don't put your life on hold. Don't, deliberate and think that, oh, there's always going to be time, or, oh, it's not the right time. People, it's never the right time for anything, honestly. We could say that about every single thing in life. It's never the right time. It's never the perfect time. For those of you who have kids who you've planned for, right? Whenever they come, it's not the right time. I love them. Absolutely. I've got 2 kids. They're beautiful. Adore them. Would not want to give them back. But let me tell you right now, it's never the right time. It's just the same thing here. Whatever it is that you want to do, it's within your capability of doing. So just get on with it, get it done, chip away, prepare, go. After, what do you think? Importance of having PPCR back in Australia home. Great question you ask, Raquel, about why do I think that a MPH from Harvard, being that I'm in Australia, is a good idea. Has anybody ever heard of Harvard before? I mean, I don't know about you. You may have heard. It's this little school in Boston, in the US. This little school. Why Harvard? Really simply because it's one of the best schools in the world, right? And not only that, from my own purposes and what it is that I want to achieve in my area of expertise, they produce some of the highest quality, best research, published research in the world. The School of Public Health really is a leader in education of the general population across the globe that influences policy, research, protocol, treatments. So do we get clarity around why Harvard? Right? It's pretty obvious. There's really, there's nowhere else. I honestly, for me, one of the things that I know is within what I want to achieve in changing standard medical care, it requires a whole lot of research. Felipe gave me some great advice in terms of like focus on meta-analysis, because that for me is going to pave the foundation of what I want to achieve, what I want to create, what I want to see change. They talk about being the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. Do the things that are going to enable you to create what you envision and hold that vision so clearly in your mind that the little things of like, oh, I didn't get in this year, it's not going to stop you. That's why I say that, I made a decision that this is what I'm going to do. It's just going to get done. Incidentally, that's how I've lived my life up until now. The only reason that I have been able to do the things that I have been able to do is because I make a decision about those things and I do not let up. I go, that's what I'm going to do. Now, questions. How else? Who else? What else? Those are the only questions that cross my mind. Don't have money. Well, that is such a BS excuse. I'm sorry. But it is. Because you know what? When was the last time that you didn't find the money to do the thing that you really wanted to do? That you absolutely believed was going to make a difference in your life? You're in PPCR because you found the money. So don't let, terrible excuses stop you from your greatness, from being able to achieve the dreams in your life that are in your future, that you envision more than anything else. I remember when I graduated from my very first degree, this one, I remember going up to the podium to receive my degree, and the first thought that I had, I don't know why, but I remember this so vividly, and I had completely forgotten about it, but I get in there to receive my degree. I get it in my hands and I go, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if I was receiving a degree from Harvard right now? Like literally. And I immediately thought, and I was like 20, right? 20 something. I immediately thought, oh, Gabriela, forget it. That's never going to happen. You live in Australia. You know, like you're not going to move to the US to do this. Just forget it. And literally, I just kind of went, forget it. And it wasn't until the PPCR thing came up that I'm like, it's Harvard, I'm doing it. Right? And then, of course, the rest is history from there. But you can, there's a beautiful quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he wrote, the implanting of a desire signifies that its gratification is within the creature who feels it, which means if you would not have the desire unless you were capable of its achievement. So if you believe within yourself that whatever it is, crazy as crazy could be in your own mind, that's something you envision, that's something you really want to create, you can do it. And look, I'm living proof of this because I decided in my great wisdom as a 20-something-year-old that I was going to create a virtual fertility practice that was going to treat patients all over the globe via video conferencing, via, different methods online. And in 2012, we went from a physical practice into a fully virtual practice. And we were doing telemedicine, say from 2003. We were doing phone consultations. We were doing, back then, there was no kind of like video conferencing where you can see each other so beautifully and clearly. It's just like, telephone. I had patients who had 2 babies through our clinic who I hadn't even know what they looked like until after, like, the second child. There's one patient of mine who has now actually joined our practitioner team in my clinic, who has had 4 children, 3 through our program. I only found out what she looked like after the second child. So can you see, this is what I'm saying to you. Like, you would think that it's something that's crazy, right? But it's not crazy. If you believe in yourself, you will achieve whatever it is that is in your mind. Whatever you hold a strong enough vision for, you will create. So, very well. I hope that, this has been somewhat useful or helpful for you. I'm going to go through the questions and answer any other questions that you would like at this point. And I believe that Alma wanted me to finish it off in 10 minutes, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so let me scroll all the way up. But let me know in the chat if you guys are finding this useful and if there's anything else you want to know. Okay, so we've got going down. Okay. How long does it take to get prepared for the GRE? Like I said, it really would depend on you. For me, math was never really my strong point, honestly. And so it took me 6 months to prepare for the GRE. So, it depends. It depends how long you've been trying to, how long since you've actually had that immersion into mathematics. For me, it had been a long time, and I wish to suppress and forget all of those experiences. So it was even harder to actually remember what maths was. So for me, it wasn't an easy kind of like, oh yeah, I'll just go and do it. But it's totally doable. Trust me, if I can do it, honestly, you guys can do it. You guys can totally do it. So in terms of we've talked about already the preparation process. You can actually do this in a few months. So in terms of preparation for the application, the thing that I would recommend now is start studying for your GRE. Even if you do it little bit by little bit, like sign up for Magoosh, start going through the stuff, start your WES. Your WES is going to be the thing that's going to hold you up. Start making the contacts and the relationships to get your letters of recommendation. Right? That's going to be really, really important. That is a crucial part of you getting in, okay? So when I did PCE, one of the beautiful things that ended up happening because I did so well and I got along so beautifully. Oh, with, you guys have had him recently. He's my favorite professor, other than Felipe, of course. Orav, how good is that man? Oh my God. He is the best Harvard professor ever. I actually made 30 memes out of his PCE class last year. He is my hero. I love him to bits, and he's just so amazing. His teaching style is just incredible. He's the nicest guy, and you know, he gave me a letter of recommendation, which I was so grateful for. It was so beautiful. But yeah, it's just, you know, like those contacts really make a very, very big difference, you know, in the long term. And look, mind you, don't approach your professors, right, with like wanting something from them. Add value. Like the worst thing that people can do is like go, oh, I'm going to ask that person for a letter of recommendation, therefore I'm going to, you know, try and be best buddies with them. Oh my God, people see through that stuff just so clearly, and you then become this pest of a person, right? Think about how can you add value? How can you collaborate? How can you, you know, what are the things that you can bring to the table? What can you bring to the table? Bring it to the table, right? That's the thing that you need to really focus on. How can I add value? How can I, you know, benefit this other person? Because that's how it works in life. Okay, good. PC is the program of clinical effectiveness, program in clinical effectiveness. So, oh yeah, we've answered that. That's cool. Oh, that's cute. Thanks, Marcella, for saying that you enjoy this. Yeah, that's good. I'm an economist and medical student, but still have good years to finish my second. Would you recommend medical students in PPCR as next steps? Good question. It really will depend. You know, look, I think that in anywhere where you are right now, right? What you need to do, and this is what I always do in my life, is I, first of all, decide what I want my life to look like, right? What do I want to contribute? What do I want to create? Like, those are my questions. What do I want to create? What do I want to contribute? What is my legacy? Then from there, I work backwards. And then I go, okay, well, what's the next step to that? Because there's process, right? It's just process. And truly, success leaves clues. So it's like if you see someone who is doing or has done something similar to what you want to create, don't see them as a competitor. Go and learn. Figure out, okay, well, how can I even, you know, how can I add to this? How can I contribute to this? How can I better this? How can I improve it? Right? And whatever it is that they've already achieved, don't start from zero. Start from a platform of, okay, great. So this is done. Fantastic. Where else can we go from here? What else is possible? So the question about what is your next step is going to be so independently determined on what you dream about in the inner corners of your little heart, right? And what interests you, what drives you, what, you know, like if you said to me, Gabriela, you know, like for example, at PCE, one of the people did a proposal of a presentation of a particular clinical trial that they were so pumped. You could see these people were truly like so excited about this device that they were going to study in people's knees and whatever, and this and that, and that, and that. And I was excited by their energy, but I was like, kill me now. I do not want to be having that conversation ever in my life, right? And so the thing about it is that, and this is how I decided what I wanted to do for my life. I literally thought, what are the conversations that I can see myself having, that I want to be having? For 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years, for 50 years. What are those conversations? And then you structure what your next step is going to be based on that, because honestly, life is too short to follow somebody else's path. It's about what do you want for your life? How can you be every single thing you can be? That should be your next step, is figuring that out. Right? It's figuring out who you are, what you enjoy, what brings you alive. That is your next step. And that will be different for every person. You know, some people love surgery. Other people love talking to people. Other people love to see a transformation. You know, like it's different. It's different for everyone. So really find what drives you, what makes you come alive, what makes you like literally get out of bed. I wake up every morning at 4 a.m. Every morning. Right? So pumped and so excited about what I'm going to create today. Because I absolutely love what I do, because I've designed my life in the way that I want to live it, not for somebody else. Some people look at me and go, you're crazy. Like, honestly, go sleep more. Right? But I'm like, I'm good with that. I'm okay. I'm happy. Right? So that's the thing that you need to kind of figure out for yourself, is like, who am I? What do I love? What do I enjoy? Forget everybody else and do what it is that you want with your life. And then, you know what? So many people are going to benefit from that. So many people. You will benefit more people by doing what you love and enjoy and what brings you alive than you ever would by following some conformed path that you think you should. You know, don't do what you think you should. That's the worst possible way of being the unhappiest person in your own life. Don't ever do what you think you should do. Right? Do what you love, what you want to do, what makes you really feel like, yes, this is it. Okay, let's see, what else? MD, residency in the US, want to do MPH. Which one do you recommend we do first? Look, doing the MPH is great because guess what? You'll get contacts. I know a couple of friends through PCE who have done the year long, who have gotten amazing residency opportunities as a result of the networking that they were able to do during the year-long summer, living in Boston. So I definitely would recommend that you look at it from that perspective. You know, like what's going to leverage you more? Definitely being there in people's faces all year long is going to be one of the good ways. Look, PC is fine. If you're not native English speaking, you will definitely need to do the TOEFL or an equivalent, right? So that's something that you will need to also, so that's an extra thing that you will need to do. So for me, obviously I didn't have to do that, but you will need to do that as an extra if your native language isn't English, okay? Oh, Brigida, love to you, darling. Let's see. What have they asked? Yes, done that. Okay, so here's the thing, project-wise, this is the one thing that I will say to you. Project-wise, it doesn't matter. Do you understand? Your PPCR project does not matter what the topic is. In fact, I proposed a topic for my PPCR program that after it didn't get picked, I was like, oh, that's a bummer. It didn't get picked. It would have been great if I could do something that I wanted to do. I was actually so grateful that it didn't get picked because you know what? I wanted to learn the concepts and the principles of how to do clinical research. And doing a topic that I was completely unfamiliar with made me focus not on the topic, but on the process that I needed to follow. So I was really damn grateful in the end. We ended up doing dermatology. Jesus, like nothing that I could think is more boring. Sorry, dermatologists, but not my thing, right? And and the woman who proposed it was beautiful, love her, Renata. She's, you know, again, become one of my really good friends. But when it got proposed, I was like, oh, Jesus, really? Do we need to do that? But it was the best. It was the best because I learned what I was there to learn, which was how to run, how to conduct, how to do clinical research, not get caught up in my own subject matter. Does that make sense? Yeah, really crucial. So let's see, lecturer. We will have one lecturer with one PPCR alumni doing that. Yeah, great. Let's see. So I can do my first summer and finish MPH credits out of my rate. Yes. I don't know that you could. Oh yeah, you could. You could actually, Paz. You could. That's something that you could do. And somebody asked if I have an Instagram account. Yes, I do. Gabriela Rosa. So with one L, Gabriela Rosa Fertility. Gabriela Rosa Fertility on Instagram. I'm not very good on Instagram, by the way. If you want to add me on Facebook, I'm much more on Facebook these days than I am on Instagram, but it's there. So Gabriela Rosa on Facebook, if you wanted to connect, just make sure that you send me a private message to say that you've heard this talk, because otherwise I probably won't accept it. But definitely for sure. What is your experience? Yeah, so native language we've talked about. I've answered that question, but if it's not yet clear, you will definitely need to do it. Look, I'm actually, by the way, this is something that you may not know about me because it didn't even come up, but I'm actually Brazilian, right? I'm originally from Brazil. So I've just lived in Australia for a very long time, and therefore, yes, it's true. So I applied for Harvard on my Australian passport so that I didn't have to do the TOEFL, right? Even though it may have been useful, yes, it may have been useful to apply because of the fact that they want diversity at Harvard, and overseas students is diversity is certainly something that would be useful. But I did it because I just I just didn't want to do the TOEFL as well as the GRE, as well as the, blah, blah, blah. So you guys are freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, it's Brazilian. So yeah, so that's the only reason why I did that, because for me, it was just easier, but you can, yeah, I was born, guess where I was born? Let's do a quick little, chat thing, and then I've got to go because otherwise Alma's going to boot me out of here. So where do you think I'm from in Brazil? You can't cheat and look at my Facebook profile, right? We've got São Paulo, Belo Horizonte. Where else? Come on, you guys are cold. Brasilia! Lucas, go you. So yes, I am from Brasilia. That's it. My parents, by the way, still live in Brasilia right now. So yeah, so they live in Pacué. So very, very nice that we connect with so many fabulous Brazilians. But you guys are awesome. So just get in there, do the thing, and I'm sure, I am absolutely 100% sure there is hope. Yes, there is hope. Absolutely. For so many things. I love the comments. You guys crack me up. So definitely hit me up on Facebook, and I'm sure that we will connect and be great friends. So guys, look, I hope this has been useful. I hope that, you have gotten something out of this that you didn't have before, that inches you that little bit further to what it is that you want to create and the life that you want to live. And honestly, I know for a fact that whatever you dream of, you will absolutely conquer, you will absolutely achieve, you will find the strength, and you will be everything you want to be. So go ahead and make yourself proud, because you can, right? You absolutely can. Every single one of you, all of you. All right. So thank you. Happy to hang out if there's anything else that you guys need. But really, Gabriela, so yes.
Before you leave, there's a single problem. You are not the only Gabriela Rosa on Facebook, so it's really hard to find your profile.
I added it in the main chat.
I look like this on Facebook, so you should be able to find. But Alma said that she added me. So it's Gabriela, so facebook.com/ there you go, / Gabriela.Rosa. So you will find it. Very easy. There you go. Alma added it again on the bottom.
Thank you very much.
And in Instagram, it's I'll just put in here actually. So it's Gabriela. You'll see all our beautiful babies in there. We started this account last year, actually, and it's beautiful. Every single time that scroll through, honestly, go through those pictures on Instagram and read those beautiful stories. Like, they make me cry. The reason I started it was because every single time that I would get somebody tell me, Gabriela, thank you so much for your help. You know, you've been amazing helping me have my baby after everything else has failed, blah, blah, blah. And what they say, I just like go, oh my God, this is, so I wanted to keep a place that I could keep all of that beauty. So that's what that account is about. Oh, you guys are amazing. Thank you. I am so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you, Alma, for asking me. It's been such a delight. I hope that you guys have gained some usefulness out of this. And muito obrigada. Até a próxima.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, guys. I hope that you enjoy it. We're going to have these lectures every Wednesday, and we're really happy to start with Gabriela with all these great tips for you. And yes, so see you later.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
By the way, Gabriela, I sent you the
Dear Alma, are you there still?
Yes, hi, Carlos. Sorry.
Hi, just confirm. So we're gonna have this lecture with guests every Wednesday from now on.
Yes, correct. So next Wednesday we're going to have it with Manuel Castillo. He's also an alumni. He did the MPH actually, and he's a post research fellow at Boston, and he's been working already 3 years there, and it's amazing. He will show. It will be at 4 p.m. After
Is Manuel Castillo, was he at the workshop last year in Brazil?
Yes, correct. He's the faculty, the junior.
Oh yeah, he's a surgeon, right?
No, right now he's actually he got a position as research. No, sorry, as a research associate at the lab.
Okay, I think I met him last year. That's fine.
Yes. So that's him. He will be at 4 p.m. next Wednesday, and then we're going to have Tarek, who will talk. He also was last year. He was one of the faculty last year, and he's doing his residency right now, and he did an MPH at Boston College, sorry, and he will talk the other week. And then we also have Luis Castelo, another alumni for the program. He's been working in Professor Fregni's lab for 3 years now, an amazing person. You will meet him, and he's also doing the PCE just like Gabriela, and now the MPH. So yes, so we have many stories that could apply to any of you, and we hope that their information and their experience can improve your own options to succeed, and that's what we want to keep.
Very inspiring, Alma. It's very inspiring. Thank you very much for providing this.
Sure, it was on Professor's initiative, and I believe it's really great to have you, and so you can learn, you know.
Thank you, Alma, for all information. Good night. Thank you.
Bye bye.